All right. So Taimoor, tell us what we're looking at.
Yeah.
Yes.
So this is actually very interesting to me because this is a sort of an absurd children's poem that like I grew up memorizing because my brother had, and I remember having a book with these kinds of illustrations. Um, and it's very absurd. It makes no sense in many ways, but and I was also curious about its origins, but and now we stumbled into a Sufi sort of explanation of it, or opening or commentary on it. But to just give you a brief sense of what it is, it's like this is a screen grab from like a Facebook post I found. Aao bachcho suno kahani, like come children, hear this story. And then who's somebody's name there. बात की बात खुराफात की खुराफात बेरी के पत्ते सिवा तीन तीन हाथ बकरी खा गई बेरी के पात बकरी के पेट में तीन गांव दो उजड़े हुए एक बसा ही नहीं. So it follows like this strange pattern. Like the first line it's like, oh, Sukhan is Sukhan, like the talk is talk, and absurdity is absurdity. And the berry leaf um, has a has like three hands. The goat ate the leaves of the berry tree, and she had three villages in her stomach. The villages were uprooted and one was never inhabited. The one that was never inhabited, there were three potters in it. Two were disabled without hands and one did not have hands. The one did not have hands, he made three pots. Two were unbaked and uncooked, and the one was never cooked. The one that was never cooked, he made three lentils, mashed lentils in it. Two remained uncooked, and one was never softened. The one that was never softened, three young men ate it. Two remained hungry, and the one was never satiated. The one that was never satiated, um, he was given three bulls. Two were limping and one could not walk. The one could not walk was sold in three coins. The two were fake and one would not be accepted. The one that would not be accepted was shown to three gold jewelers. Two were blind and one could not see anything. The one who could not see anything, he was slapped with three slippers. Two were like left hanging and one never hit him. Like this is like the first page, but
Goes on
it
this
continues like this. It's just this,
thing.
and the pattern is like it will say two were like it uses a synonym for like, oh, like two were disabled and one did not have hands, but the word that it is using lule, like people without hands. So it's using this weird synonyms for it, but there are variations on this, and this seems to be one of the variations, but some of the lines are the same, which is very interesting that we have found it in
Here,
this manuscript. So let's read it. Um,
switch to the scriptorium version. Just so people
yeah, that would be much
know,
easier actually.
this is what it looks like on the page. And it comes in a sequence. Go back to the top here. Whoops. So prior to it are three texts, kind of Sufi texts.
It's like Risala-e-Mahak al-Ashiqeen, which is a 15th century Sufi text by Darwish Ali ibn al-Karkahri. I don't know much about him, but I found an article about this text on Nurlib. Um, I haven't downloaded it. It's a Farsi article about it, but I haven't. I have. You need to pay for it, and I haven't done that yet. But and but I don't know if there is a relationship, but it's interesting. Um, but this is a Sufi commentary that sort of is in the vein of like it's in the same sort of Mahikalash, like Sharḥ Lamaat of Jami, like Ibn Arabian text. Again, all of this is very Ibn Arabian, Fakhruddin Iraqi, These are some of the sort of people identified as like keywords in this article about this Darwish Ali bin Yusuf Karkehri. And which makes sense as we see and saw in other different selections from this text that we have been reading. Um, and so this text is about dar tark dunya wa ma fiha, in the giving up of the world and whatever is in it. And gets very sort of philosophical, the philosophical Sufism. So, but this does, I mean, it's a similar reading of this absurdist poem, which to me, which is very curious. So we can do that.
Basically, these are kind of we might say Sufi theological texts.
Yeah.
Theology straight over here, kind of
Dar bayan wahdaniyat zat ilahi,
Allah,
like the monism of the
divine essence.
zat, of the essence of the
And
Lord.
we have an explication of the
Ruh wa nafs wa aql,
the
right?
intellect. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's an interesting progression across the page. But anyway, that's kind of the context, I suppose, of this.
But what is interesting is that these pages say Risale Janubiya, and this page with the commentary on this absurdist text says the same thing, Risale Janubiya, which
Up
I
here.
guess he's identifying the place where he is, but he's mostly in the south anyway.
Yeah.
And
I
he's
thought
not
it
calling
was
it
something else.
Dakkan. So, I mean, I'm not sure why, of course, but this should be clear from the context once we read the pages before and after.
All right.
Maybe we can move to the scriptorium. Page. Okay. Well, let's read the heading first.
Good. Yeah. Look out.
Yeah.
There we go.
शरह बाज़ी मक़ूले कलाम हिंदी के बेतरीक़ मुइम्मा बर ज़बान ख़ास व आम मशहूर است. The Sharḥ is like, I mean, the commentary or opening up of certain sayings in Hindi. Again, by Hindi, he means something that is like native to India, because that's how up until 19th century, actually, some people used Hindi as opposed to Farsi, but it does not actually identify it as contemporary modern Hindi, which is a very different identification as opposed to Bengali, Punjabi, Sindhi. There were no particular names in many cases in North India, especially of people, especially who were reading and writing in Farsi, would call local languages just Hindi as like the language of the Hind. Like, for example, Sanskrit was known as Hindi Kitabi, like the sort of, more formal Hindi, like the Indic formal tongue. Like in 19th century, the Punjabi Saiful Muluk text, like it's completely Punjabi text, but the author, Mian Muhammad Bakhsh, he's writing in 1865 and he calls it this Punjabi text, he calls it Hindi. So as opposed to Farsi, because he also writes in Farsi. So like शरह बाज़ी मक़ूले कलाम हिंदी के बेतरीक़ मुइम्मा. So like in the way of मुइम्मा is like a puzzle, a riddle. बर ज़बान ख़ास व आम मशहूर is famous on the tongues of the special and the ordinary. Like everybody knows this is like a popular thing. So
Interesting.
this is the Bismillah, Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, Wassalatu wassalam ala Rasul Muhammadin wa alihi ajma'in. In the name of Lord, the most gracious, the most merciful, praise be to Allah, Lord of the world, and peace and blessings upon His Messenger Muhammad and all his family. Bad haza miguyid. After this, miguyid pabastay hirsu hawa. After this, miguyid says pabastay hirsu hawa, the one bound by his feet to greed and desire. So
self-deprecating introduction.
yes, Giriftar ma siwa Muhammad Wafa. Um, the one bound by greed and desire, the captive of worldly affairs, Muhammad Wafa, of like Muhammad Wafa is the name of. So this is actually, so he is transcribing this from something else or has commissioned it because it's clearly is not, I mean, he's identifying the name of the author. Rosie in Faqir Nashiste Bood, that one day this poor one was sitting, ke yare mawafiq muhibbe sabiq, that agreeable friend and previous admirer, or
Yeah.
let's go to the next line.
The application, I see it's extended zooming in the the curved line.
Can you see it okay?
Yeah, but the Arabic manuscripts last time when there is lines like not in the right way, it became very small.
Yeah, we'll see that in a minute.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. सैयदी कलाम हिंदी खानदान व तकलीफ करदान के मानिए इन कलाम बिगोयद बिना so read some Hindi verses and requested taklif kardan or ke maniye in kalam biguyat, that the meaning of these words be explained. Banabar zarur harche dar khatir in kham, like banabar zarur zarurat, like out of necessity. Harche dar khatir in kham, whatever came to this inexperienced, like uncooked, raw one's mind. به خاطر این خام آمد. So I think this is anjame. आमद ने जामे बंद आमदन जामे बंद कर दे जुनूबी नाम नेहादी शुद was bound together and named Junubia. I see. Risale Junubia is, so basically this is part of another Risala, which also contains the Muhiqqul Ashqeen, I think, or other things. So that's this Safīnat is also copying a different Risala by this guy Muhammad Wafa. So this Risala was like basically whatever came to this inexperience when one's mind was bound together and named Junubia. मियाबत के हरचे अस खामे इन खाम खामी बरायद az rahe karm shode pukhte sazand. It should be that whatever flows from the pen of this inexperienced one through kindness should be matured. And inexperienced next khami.
I like the repetition of words or near
Yes.
repetition of words. Seems very deliberate.
He's, yeah, of course.
Not
Khame,
just
khame is the pen. Khame in khame khami. Khame in khame khami barayat az rahe karm shude pukhte sazan. So again, the word pukhte and kham is like uncooked, raw. Pukhte is cooked, matured, baked. Wakhami in khamra darmiyan na arand, that it should, that whatever flows from the pen of this inexperienced one through kindness should be matured, and the inexperienced nature of this novice should not be brought forth. Khami in khamra darmiyan na arand. Now here khami is also both of course it's like the inexperienced, but khami can also be used as like, this is a fault in someone, which I guess like is used metaphorically, that it should not be. This is a typical way, of course, self-deprecating way whenever somebody begins to say that this is how you say it. Like, well, I request my readers to be kind to me, and I'm not really mature enough to really comment on this, but or say this. And of course, all master poets do that too, including people like Mia Muhammad Baksh and others. Like that's the typical way of speaking. So qawle, baat ki baat, khurafat ki khurafat. So here we see that khurafat is written that we saw in the previous Urdu version. It's khurafat. The Arabic khurafat, which is like absurd, something that doesn't really make sense, illogical, irrational. But what is curious to me is that it is written as khurafat here, which tells you, which is interesting, that actually, even though this is identified as a maqūla-i Hindī, what makes it Hindi is the transition of the kha to ka, where a lot of because kha is not an Indic sound, so a lot of Indic people cannot pronounce that sound, and the kha is often pronounced as either kha or or just a ka itself. So here it should be read as, I mean, we know that this is khurafat. And of course, the other problem here is, as we will see in later transcription of this, that a lot of the transcription of this in Persian script is tricky because the vowels, of course, are represented in a peculiar way, and that is not standard. We are not used to reading Indic Indic words in this script, or at least represented this way. Of course, Urdu later on has standardized those sounds in a different way, which is partly the reason I'm able to understand it, but partly also because I'm familiar with this form. Which seems to have continued from 17th century South India to North India in contemporary times.
It's crazy.
So now the commentary starts, right? Baat ki baat, khurafat ki khurafat. Key is off in Urdu or Hindi. Like key is like, in Farsi it would be baat-e baat. Baat is sukhan, khurafat. So khurafat-e khurafat. Sukhan is sukhan, khurafat-e khurafat. So yani jaye sukhan sukhan ast, wa jaye khurafat khurafat ast. This is the literal translation, that the words are words and nonsense is nonsense. Its meaning is this, that is, yani manish anast, its meaning is this. Let's go to the next line. यानी नज़दीक आरिफ हर सुखनी के अज़ अवामुन्नास ज़ाहिर मी शवद खा नेक खा बद ईशान हमें रास शुनेमंद. That is near the mystic or Gnostic, har sukhani, every word that comes from common people, as awamunnas zahir mi shavad, whether good or bad, khwah nek, khwah bad, ishan hame ras shunamand, they hear all as truth, or the right thing, as truth. Chira ke mi goyan ke chun salik be martaba kamal mirasad hame sifat zamime u, because they say that when a seeker, salik, bimartaba kamal mirasad, reaches the level of kamal or perfection, hame ye sifat zamime u, that all his blameworthy attributes, Hamide Mubdil Mishawad, are transformed into praiseworthy ones. Waham Chunin Nizmi Guyand, and likewise they also say ki chun sifat big. So this is a kaf, which is basically, I mean, I've transcribed it as a gaf here, but it's as we have seen in this manuscript, and as it is common in various Persian manuscripts, that like the kaf and the gaf are not distinguished because the additional bar is not transcribed. It just is both. It, I guess, saves time for the scribe and probably ink. So Hamchinin needs mi goyan, and likewise they also say ke chun sifat begasht harche bedur asad u needs begardat, that whatever reaches him, that when attributes change, chun sifat begasht, It's from Gashtan, which is like to change here, I think, to sort of transform, come around. That when attributes change, harche bedu is here, beu, rasad, whatever reaches him, u needs begardat, that whatever reaches him also changes. One Nazare Arif bar sukhan nist, and the Gnostics focus or nazar or gaze is not on the words bar sukhan nist, balke bar sukhan konande ast, but on the speaker. It's not what is said, but on who says it. Buzurgan farmude, and the great ones or the wise old ones have said, older ones, buzurgan, like the elders basically have said, ke chemi goyad mi abad, that what is being said, chemi goyad mi bayad deed, sorry, chemi goyad, I transcribed it wrong, it's mi bayad deed, ke, thank you for correcting it, Jonathan. Kiche mi guyad, whatever is said, mi bayadid ke, whatever is said must be seen that, ke mi guyad, ke who is saying it,
That makes
right?
sense.
So whatever is said, basically who is saying it is what is important. Pas inja hit sukhan khurafatni. So here no word is nonsense, no speech is nonsense. Balke hame rast barast, rather all is truth upon truth, right? It's for the Gnostic, everything is truth. And one nazdik jahil khurafat, and near the ignorant one, or it's for basically the ignorant one, it is nonsense. So the Arif can see everything as truth upon truth, but the one who is jahil, it is nonsense. Chira, because ke u az nehad khud barna gashte ast, because he has not changed from his like natural state, like nehad, like the fundamental sort of nature of Jahil. He has not evolved, he has not reached the perfection, the stage of, like, he has not become a Salik who has reached the stage of perfection, Kamal, as we saw Arif being defined here, right? وَآن के الصفت خود برنا گشته است. And one who has not changed from his attributes, harche bedur asad u nez barna gardad. Whatever reaches him also does not change. So it's the reception depends upon basically who is one who is saying it, and two who is receiving it. So the interpretation here depends not on what is being said alone, because what is being said, like even if it may be a nonsense to the Jahil, it will become truth upon truth to the Arif. Pas fehme u inja ki mirasat ke har sukhan barast befehmad. So how can his understanding reach here to understand every word as truth? Yani fehme jahil, pas fehme, because he, the ignorant one, has not changed from his natural state, and the one who has not changed from the attributes, whatever reaches him does not change. So how can his understanding reach to a point to understand every word as truth? In Sukhan ura khurafat nemayad. To him, in Sukhan ura khurafat nemayad. Like to him, these words appear as nonsense. Mani an Sukhan ke bala maskurast. The meaning of the words mentioned above, shayad ke murade musannif in bud, might be what the author intended. And here now we have the maqūla-i Hindi again, which is like slightly hard. I think this is so. The T here is a kante ki. this is a kaate ke. So this is kanti, but what he's transcribing, I think, is a kanta, and it's a retroflex sound, which just means a thorn. Um, and the it would be kanta, but and I mean, and I'm guessing that from, let's see, maybe the mani of it, this makes it clear.
Mani zahir.
Mani is zahir anas, like the apparent meaning. एक कांटी की अनी पर 3 तालाब.
Oops.
Burs. So can you go up a little bit? Sorry, to the back.
Yes.
I think I want to look up. Just give me a second.
I think there is a word مصنف in boot. You didn't write it.
Sorry. Just give me a second.
Oh yes, right.
There is an extra meme and the next word after مصنف.
Where?
Oh, yeah.
The word, yes.
Murad musannif in. Sorry, the transcription I read in a very
very fast. I see the other. Yeah, let's go back and fix.
So I was looking this up, and there's, I don't know, Hindi dictionary that says that this phrase is said when something disagreeable is said in jest. Baat ki baat, khurafat ki khurafat. Interesting. And what I had actually heard was baat ki baat, khurafat ki lat, which is, and sometimes it's like baat ki baat, lat ki lat. Lat is like a kick. Let me see. I found another meaning of this phrase, which says, ऐसी बात जो ज़ाहिरन करीने कयास हो और गौर करने पर मुहमिल मालूम हो. Like, मामूली बात में दरपर्दा किसी नागवार पहलू का इशारा. Basically, something that seems meaningful, but if you really think about it, it's absurd. It's meaningless. But anyway, so I think ek kaate par, so this is talab. I think what this is talab. Talab, basically, talab is a pond or hawz in Farsi, right? It's a pond. Ek kaate ki, I don't know what the ki anni, ki ani, that I don't understand. But basically, it seems like that on the edge of a thorn, there were 3 ponds. So let's see what the Farsi says. Mani zahir anast. The apparent meaning is barsare khar se hauz. Yes, 3 pools on top of a thorn. You know, surrealism is old. This is like 18th century Hindi surrealism, or probably older.
Which word is number 3?
Say.
Say. Yeah. Oh yeah, I hadn't even noticed. He wrote a 3 on top
He
of
wrote a
this.
3. So this is another practice comment to this manuscript.
Yeah.
So the apparent meaning is that 3 pools on top of a thorn. Mani shan bashad ki khar albatte berast mi bashad. Its meaning would be that the thorn is certainly upright. Maninde alif. Okay. So that the thorn is certainly upright like the letter alif. Chunanche buzurgi dar in mehel khush gufte ast, as a great one in this, I guess, Dareen Mahal, I think, like in this context, it's not, certainly not a mahal here, not like a gathering, as nicely said. Mahal khush gufte ast. Khush gufte ast has said nicely, and I think there is a bait, a verse. Hast alif rast as an bartarast. The alif is straight and therefore is highest. Yake kajast as hame payan tarast. The next line, the tarast is, or that which is crooked is lowest of all.
Hmm.
Hame payan tarast is in the next line.
Okay. Oh, yes. Okay.
Digar malum mishavad. Furthermore, it becomes clear. मुसन्निफ के खार गुफ्ते است तशबीह बेरास्ती दादे است. That it becomes clear that when the author said khar, thorn, he gave a simile for uprightness. You know, straightness.
Yeah.
Yani ahwal zamana hamchu uftade ast, meaning the conditions of the time have fallen such कि रास्त बरास्त ast, the chashme marduman, that whoever is upright appears as a thorn in people's eyes. Khar mi numayad के ज़माने हमचू उफ्तादे است हर के रास्त बेरास्त است در चश्म मर्दुमान खार मी नुमायद, that the time has fallen such that every whoever is upright appears a thorn in people's eyes. व इन नीज जाहिर است, and this is also apparent कि हर ताले जाहिर است हर के तालिब तालिब मौला शुदे ruye as dunya gardan. I think this is also a gaf. Gardani de, that anybody who became or whoever became the seeker of the divine and turned away from the world. Wahame zinat dunya tark dade, and gave up all the worldly ornaments. And here we see, I think this is the continuation with the previous Risale about Tarki Dunya wa Mafiha, that the giving up all the things in the world and everything that is in it. That whoever became a seeker of the divine and turned away from the world and gave up all the worldly ornaments, Mardumane Dunya Ura Haqir mi binand. The people of the world see him as contemptible, like lowly. Wakhar mi biandarand, and consider him being a thorn. Amma inja khar guftan muradast alift, but here saying thorn refers to alif. Wa az alif murad bidana ist.
Whoops. Wait, what?
And by alif the meaning is
It just left it hanging. Hang on, did we miss something?
no, previous line.
Yeah, let me go back up. Azalif Murad Bedanist. I guess just the intention is known. Like, you know what Aleph means? Yeah, it doesn't continue.
Yeah.
Bedanist, and then it's and then Ba'az say.
Is the alif that the letter, or could be alf as a number 1,000?
No, I think it's the letter. Maybe it's just like everybody knows all the things Aleph stands for. It's such a, so heavy with symbolism.
Yes. I mean, of course, but what's the Bedanist? Is it Danist? Well, as Alif Murad Bedanist, like,
yeah.
I mean, Danistan, is it
yeah,
no?
I would assume so. It's like the subjunctive.
And from Alif, know the intention.
Yeah.
Like Bedanist.
Yeah, I think it's just
should understand the meaning. Well, as Alif Murad Bedanist,
because Aleph, the
it's an
symbolism.
imperative, I think. He's using the reader here as like with the bay as an imperative.
That would
Like,
make sense. I feel like the symbolism of Aleph is so ubiquitous,
right.
which is hard for anyone
Vedana,
to pick up on it.
honest. Right. Vedanaст. Or like, therefore, the meaning of Alif is known. I don't know.
Yeah, something like that.
Something like that. Baʿz se hoz murad se alam ast. And from three pools is meant the three worlds. Alam-i bala, the upper world, wa alam-i miyane, the middle world, wa alam-i pain, and the lower world. Ke ura tehtus sara guyand, ke they call it beneath the earth.
Hmm.
Tehtus sara.
Wait,
Is
Sarah?
this, huh?
Sarah. Oh, yeah, like under the
Yeah,
dirt?
the earth.
Yeah. Oh,
So the underworld, basically.
yeah.
Um,
Duplicate.
isn't it like sara, like the soil?
It is, yeah. It's like under the dirt.
Yeah. Like, it's a cosmological, it's a Quranic word.
I think so.
I think in Surah Taha, like lahu ma fi samawati wa ma fil arz wa
Oh,
ma bainahuma wa ma tahtus sara. That whatever is that to him or to God belongs, what is in the heavens and what is on the earth, and what is between them and what is under the soil. So this is, I think, the reference here, right? So the alam-e bala and the alam-e miyane and the alam-e pain, like the subterranean, the celestial realm, the earthly realm, and the subterranean realm, right? It's I think it is a sort of common cosmological interpretation from this verse. Which I think is, let me find the reference. I think this is verse 6. Yeah, Surah Taha, ayah 6. Lahu ma fi samawati wa ma fil arz wa ma bainahuma wa ma tahtus sara. So this, the three halls, I guess, becomes a metaphor for that. So alame bala pain wa miyane. Okay.
Passenger.
So here, pas inja murad musannif barkhar se haus guftan ana. So here, the author's intention in saying three pools on the thorn is this, yani, meaning
Up.
आलम बाला व आलम मियाने व आलम पाइन कायम बिजात उवस्त. The upper world, the middle world, and the lower world are sustained by his essence.
Yeah.
The rast, the alif. And now we come to the next line.
So
Qawle,
the
do
upper,
sukhi, एक में पानी नहीं. So you see, so here he is writing, like this would be read in modern Urdu as sukahi. Sukhi, so the kha, sukhi means dried in Hindi or Indic languages, sukh. And that's a aspirate that does not exist in Indic. Sorry, it only exists in Indic. It does not exist in Persian and Arabic. Kha, gha, cha, dha, la, like aspirate sounds. So, but which is represented in modern Urdu transcription with like how I have transcribed it with this ha. So, and when you write it with the ha with he's writing, it is read not as an aspirate but as separate words like kahi, kaho. For example, when you say kaho, which means to say, kehna is a verb, and kha and kaha are two different ones. So anyway, so do sukhi, two dried, ek mein pani nahi, one did not have water. So the two talabs, the two houses, the three houses, two were dried and one did not have water. And here you see also in Nahin, he is writing the dot in noon. That is the noon in Indic. There are several Indic na sounds which is like nasal without, it's not pronounced as a complete. So it's like nahi. And in modern Urdu, it is written without the dot, which is called noon-e-gunna, which means that the noon is not completely pronounced. It's just like a nasal sound, nahi. Okay. So, दो सूखी एक में पानी नहीं. मानिए ज़ाहिरानस्त दो खुश्कबूदन. The apparent meaning is two were dry. Let's go to the next line. وَيَكِي آبْ نداشت. And two were dry and one had no water. Manish an bashad, its meaning would be yani alam bala wa alam payin az nayaft u khushk budand. That the upper world and the lower world were dry from not finding him. Yani be ma'irfat. So yani that meaning that they were without knowledge. This is the difference between ma'arifat and ma'irfat is curious to me because um like what is the ya doing here? Be mima. Is it like
Where?
oh
Be
the last
marifat?
word?
Be marifat?
Oh, it's be
Be
ma'rifat, right?
marifat, without knowledge.
Without
Yeah.
knowledge, not
Yeah.
bamir. I transcribed it wrong. Okay,
Yeah.
right.
I fixed it.
Where were we? Yeah. So
They're dry because
yani be ma'rifat. Yani they were without knowledge.
and then
Okay,
what was the upper world and the lower world? Yes.
right. Basically, they were dry from not finding him, that they were without knowledge.
Yeah.
Right. Let's go. Wa'ani is, no, I think, did we miss a line? We missed one line.
Yes, I think we did. No, we didn't.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and then yeah.
Oh, he's commenting on the same. Wa'ani is mashhurast, and this is also well known. Har darwish ke bi ma'rifat mi bashad, that any darwish that is without knowledge, ura zahid khushk mi goyan probably is the next word. He is called the dry ascetic.
Let's see. Yeah, just had.
Agarche bar alam bala ibadat bisyaras, although there is much worship in the upper world, amma marifat nis, but there is no knowledge. Dareen Mahfil. In this Dareen Mahal, in this context, Hazrat Khwaja Hafiz Gufte, in this context, Hazrat Khwaja Hafiz has said, Asman bare amanat Natwanast Kashid. The sky could not bear the burden of the trust.
Wow.
I guess this is again a reference to the Quranic sort of reference to the mountains and the sky were like, we don't want the revelation. We cannot take the burden of the Quran.
Yeah. Presumably so then the Mian is going to be the human person who can take Marifat. Taimoor, I think we're going to stop there because it's 12 o'clock and we're at the end of
Sounds
the
good.
page.
We can continue with this. I think this is like 3-4 pages, but this is a very brilliant commentary.
Have any of y'all seen anything quite like this?
Huh?
I said, have any of y'all seen anything quite like this? Like a Sufi commentary on a, for lack of a better word, kind of popular poem?
I mean, I haven't. It's quite it's quite something.
No, I haven't.
I haven't either. I mean, I'm trying to think of any analogs, but I'm coming up short. I will say, one thing that is a little bit parallel or resonant in the writings of Abdul Ghani and Nabalusi, who probably a contemporary with this author. He's very sensitive to what we would, I think, now call kind of folk tradition and like kind of popular beliefs, and just kind of like popular language. And he's always trying to interpret the beliefs and practices he encounters in like the most praiseworthy way, and in kind of identifying whatever theological truth he can discern in them. And it's a similar, I think there's this kind of similar Akbarian background, right? This idea that, you know, if you have gnosis, everything can reveal their manifest truth, including like what seems like kind of a nonsense poem, right? That kids recite. So that, I mean, I think that would be the common thread, that there's this shared impulse, because of this kind of shared, you know, theology or philosophy of trying
I think
to discern these things.
it would be interesting to see the other contents of Risale Junubiya here.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, it makes sense because it has the al-Ashiqeen, which is a Ibn Arabian cosmological commentary and theological theological text. And it would be interesting to read Nablusi also, and perhaps that can be that would explain this framework, right? It can form another of the articles that we want to write.
I also think if you think about the Indic context, that, and I think you mentioned this last time, Taimoor, you do have these cases from fairly early on of like Sufi writers who are drawing upon kind of traditional Indic, you know, mythology and religious motifs, and kind of casting them in a Sufistic way. So like finding some kind of like inner truth or reality.
Yeah, which
that might not be, you know, obviously Islamic or Sufi.
But I mean, that's the whole, I think, universalizing tendency of the tradition, right? I mean, I think Shahab Ahmad would call, like, that's the fundamental Islamic tendency of universalizing everything within the fold of, like, because I mean, that's the fundamental claim, especially if you look at like the idea of Wahdaniyat, of Tawheed, then everything has to be incorporated in that universal unity. There's nothing that is outside the fold of it by definition. Nothing. Um, uh, your understanding can be if it is corrupted, but as such, really, there is nothing that is outside the fold of that.
I think what's interesting here is it's this movement, instead of kind of, if you will, kind of high literature, to taking basically we'll say low literature, you know, common popular vernacular stuff, as being on par with kind of literary and kind of high traditions.
Which would also like track with, like, the Ibn Arabian assertion that everything is a name of God. And everything is beautiful and has Jamal. If you can't appreciate it, that's your lack, right? I mean, literally, like everything, like even if you think of disgusting things, he would be like, oh no, that too is revealing of God's beauty and is a name of God. And so, but within that, but this is like but also very, I mean, this is very smart. It's like a very sort of intelligent. I mean, like it's also, you can see that, like, without referencing the Quran, it's like a Quranic commentary on this like absurd line of like 3 ponds on the top of a thorn, 2 dried and 1 did not have water. The one that were dried are like Zahidane Khushk.
I will say, this would be fun to like present nowadays in like an English department or something. It's like, here's what I think the author's real intention was. This is clearly all about cosmology and the Gnostic. I don't know if that would fly or not, but who knows?
Well, you should think about it, but I think this would be a great article. I mean, just this part.
Yeah, that's fun.
Like,
all right. Well, we'll continue the next page next week. So
I think that would be. I'm excited about reading more of that. If you guys are okay with it.